I'm Jordan Hatfield. This is Faster Film Critic. Today on the show, we talk The Toxic Avenger with Kolter and Dawson Thomas. The Toxic Avenger is a 2023 lowbrow B-horror comedy directed by Macon Blair, starring Peter Dinklage, Kevin Bacon, and Elijah Wood. Swallow your toxins while I summon the nuts and get in. We're going cinephiling.
Faster Film Critic. Talk.
Gentlemen,
How's it going, fellas?
I hope to have a very sophisticated and professional conversation about the Toxic Avenger today.
I brought glasses. I'm locked in.
The only kind of conversation that must be had about Toxic Avenger must be distinguished and sophisticated, yes.
You know, I hate to even start talking about the Toxic Avenger from 2023 without talking about the Toxic Avenger from 1984.
Oh, yes. Did you see it? Did you watch it?
I did watch it. Have you seen it?
Yes, I watched it before I watched the new one, so I had the groundwork.
Dude, so we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
So,
nice.
Real quickly, what do we think of the 1984 The Toxic Avenger?
Some of it does not hold up in certain ways. Like, there were some parts I was watching and I was like, I think I'm 30 years probably too late to this. Like, this is not maybe for me, my era. But I will say there were lots of parts of it that I really enjoyed. And I think if I was born in like 1975, I think this movie would have changed my life as a teenager, because there were still parts I really appreciated. I loved the gore. I loved the special effects. I even liked most of the story. I think there were maybe just some characters or plots or dialogue that I was like, hey, maybe not for me. But if I was 15 in like 1984, I would have loved it.
So here's my 3-sentence review of The Toxic Avenger from 1984.
The Toxic Avenger is offensive, salacious, and politically incorrect. It looks for a line to cross and sprints past it. It's low budget, low talent, and low intelligence. If you're not yet convinced this needs to be seen immediately, B-grade horror comedy is not for you.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Low talent, but high ambition. I will say that.
Yeah, I'll give it that. High ambition for sure.
Yeah.
It was wild. Maybe the most offensive movie I've ever seen. Can you guys think of a movie more offensive?
Yeah, it doesn't, a lot of it doesn't age so well. I mean, it's definitely I think I said this last time, it's a cocaine-fueled, batshit, crazy, going for it. Yeah, a lot of things. You kind of cringe a little bit watching some of this stuff.
A little bit. It's a cringy film,
Yeah.
but it is a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun as long as you can look past some of the most horrid and atrocious, offensive, mean-spirited, politically incorrect things that you can possibly imagine.
Oh, yeah.
Then you're going to have a good time in this one.
Yeah. Oh, that's very fair.
However, I can't imagine watching the 2023 version of The Toxic Avenger, the remake, without the context of the original. You have to have the context of the original to even understand where to begin with the remake.
I think you would miss a lot of context or like
100%.
Easter eggs or like moments or like things that as I'm sitting in the theater, I'm like, wow, if I was, 50 at this point, I'd be like, oh, I know that, like, that's Melvin, like they did the Melvin thing, like things like that. And I think you would totally miss out on all of that, because I was doing that and I watched the original movie like 2 days ago. And I was like, oh, they did the thing. And so I think you would totally miss out on like 20 different things. And I think that would be disappointing.
Yeah.
Well, we're not here to discuss the 84 version of The Toxic Avenger. We're here to discuss the 2023 version of The Toxic Avenger. And before we start, there is one really, really important thing that needs to be pointed out.
Okay.
Now, for the listeners that are paying very close attention, they're probably thinking to themselves right now, wait a second, it's 2025. This film just barely came out. Why do you keep calling it a 2023 film? And that's because this film was shot and finished in 2023. It was done. Everything was ready to go in 2023, but they could not find a distributor.
Yeah.
Nobody was willing to pick this film up because they thought it was too absurd, too outrageous, and it wouldn't make any money.
Yep.
I want to talk more about that later. So it sat on a shelf for 2 years before Cineverse came along and picked it up. Now, Cineverse did something really, really cool with their marketing budget. Are you guys aware of this?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
They took $5 million. This is a low-budget film.
Sure.
Okay? Not a lot of money went into this film. They took $5 million from their marketing budget, and they paid off private, low-income medical debt.
Oh, no kidding.
And they promised for every $1 million the movie makes, they will pay off an additional $1 million of medical bills for low-income families. That is pretty damn cool.
That is cool.
I don't know if I've ever heard of anything like that before.
Yeah. So I want to support this movie. I want listeners to support this movie. I want everyone to support this movie. Even if the movie sucks, we'll get to that too. But that's really cool, man. That's really cool.
Yeah. It's
So
odd that it's
wanna
coming
hand
from a
it
movie
to-
like this to do something like that. but
Exactly.
yeah.
Now, Kolter, I know you're a longtime fan of the original Toxic Avenger. What were your expectations going into the remake?
The expectations initially were based off the marketing, the early trailers, and I kind of thought, well, we see a lot of attempts, modern filmmakers, modern studios, to kind of do this nostalgia bait kind of thing. Like, oh, we're going to do, one of these splatter gore, ridiculously over the top horror comedies, whatever you want to call it, from the 80s. And it ends up being exactly that kind of nostalgia bait, where I think this movie got it right, both from a marketing stance and the final product was that it was more successful than just baiting audiences. I think it actually was kind of in the spirit and vibe of those older movies, while at the same time showing just enough restraint and even just the right amount of maturity. They knew to avoid some of the more unsavory things that characters were saying and doing in those older movies that you can get away with in the 80s that you can't now. The movie ended up exceeding my expectations, and I thought it was just going to kind of be another gory, over the top, laden with a lot of stupid jokes, which it had its fair share, but it ended up being pretty decent for what it was.
So something you said caught my attention.
Yeah.
You said restraint. You used the word restraint.
yeah.
And I want to focus in on that word for a second because I had a little different experience with this film than maybe you just described.
Do tell.
It's important to know that this film is not rated.
Right.
Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's NC-17 or worse.
Oh, yeah.
It just means it hasn't been rated. But typically speaking, when you see a movie that's not rated, man, they're throwing in all sorts of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
It's like the crazy cut.
It is like
Yeah.
way over the top.
Yes.
Gruesome, salacious, offensive,
Right.
all of those things. After watching the 1984 version, heading into this film and seeing the not rated, I was nervous, to say the least.
Okay.
The film is definitely chaotic, as was the first,
Yeah.
but here it felt more like manufactured chaos. And it didn't push boundaries like the first one did. I mean, there was some gore for sure,
Right.
but for a not rated remake of The Toxic Avenger, I expected more. I was surprised. It felt quite tame in a lot of ways. Maybe there was too much restraint.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. When you're comparing it to like the absurdity of the other ones, sure, the older ones.
I'm glad to see that a lot of the sexism and racism was out of this one, which was very front and center in the first one. But I did expect this one to kind of push some boundaries. I
Yeah.
expected it to be a little bit more ambitious.
Yeah.
And I was surprised. I mean, it was super gory, but I've seen worse in R-rated movies before.
Yeah.
This is the Toxic Avenger remake. So
Yeah.
I was surprised walking out of it. I felt like it was maybe a little too restrained.
Okay. I mean, I think that's totally okay. Yeah, you watch the Terrifier series is far more, I think, bothersome from a gory aspect than this.
Terrifier makes the Toxic Avenger look like it was made for children.
Yeah.
I would say my experience is similar to Jordan. So I didn't know there was an original until you texted me and you're like, "Have you seen the first one?" And I was like, "I didn't know there was a first one." So I had to Google it, but it was on Prime, so that was lucky. But I had no idea. And so watching the first one, I don't know. I think gore's fun. I think if you do it in a fun way, especially like in the 80s, I think you can do it in such a fun, exciting way. And so after I'd watched the first one going into the new one, I was worried about the kind of tone. Because like you said, or, like we've said before, there's a lot of pretty crazy like racism. There's a lot of sexism, just a lot of like kind of poor tasting, like, oh, I don't know. So I was nervous for that in this movie. But I was excited for like, well, there's probably going to be some really cool gore moments. There's going to be really cool splatter scenes, whatever. Because in the first one, you see like they're running people over. They're, you know what I mean? They're just kind of doing whatever. And it was almost the opposite. They had totally, kind of cut out some of the parts where you're like, I don't know if we should include things like that. But I was left wanting more, maybe almost more like original practical effects, because there were gory scenes, but it was CGI, and it was like kind of low budget CGI, which is fine, but it's like if I have to watch something kind of low budget, I'd rather have it be like fake rubber head explodes versus
good
like
point.
they've digitally kind of altered a head or something. You know what I mean? Like something like that.
100%.
That's a great point, man. If your goal is to be authentic to that kind of movie, just lean all the way into it. I agree.
Just like you, Dawson, I was a little disappointed when I saw the CGI splatter. I was expecting more practical.
Yeah.
It was still fun.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong. It was
for sure.
still fun, but the CGI doesn't honor the original, and I could have done without some of that.
Have you seen Freaky Tales by chance?
I have not.
It was a Sundance movie. It struggled to get picked up. It finally dropped to like HBO Max.
Oh, yeah.
Literally this year, and I think I saw it at Sundance like 2 years ago. Like it was like their darling for that year. It was like the big like Friday night premiere, biggest. Everyone was freaking out about it. And then it was quiet. Similar to this, it was quiet for like 2 years, and I was like, I'm never gonna see that movie again. But finally it got picked up. It did like 1 week in theaters, and then eventually it went to HBO Max. But I feel like they do practical effects because it's very 80s. It's similar to this in a way, but they do practical effects really, really well, and it's over the top, and it's Kill Bill, and it's the amount of money they spent on like just gallons of fake blood, like things like that. And so I really enjoy that vibe, and so I want Toxic Avenger 2 to have have that level of practical effects.
Yeah.
Now, the Toxic Avenger, Toxie, as he's called,
Yeah.
is big. He's 7 foot
Yeah.
or
big
more. Big dude. Here we have Peter Dinklage.
Right.
With all due respect, he is not a big dude.
He's not a big guy.
What do you think about him in this role?
Well, I think one of the things that struck me watching this, so I think that there was an obvious and intended effort to be a little bit more mature about some of the things that would have been just eviscerated, in the 80s if this movie was made in the 80s, which obviously it was, but not this particular one. I do like that he's treated like any other person. The way his son is, kind of expressive, maybe a little bit of an outcast in the school, would have been eviscerated as a character in the 80s Toxic Avenger. So I do like that they were trying to normalize a little bit of this stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It was an interesting choice. I'd like to think it's because Peter Dinklage is just a good actor. And it's kind of funny. Unlike the Toxic from the 80s, who's more of a sympathetic character, Peter Dinklage plays kind of a more pathetic character in this one. So other than he's just a good actor, somebody has an affinity for him and saw him in this role, it's choices like that are always interesting.
I absolutely loved him in this role.
Yeah, he was great.
I thought he was absolutely fantastic. The first third of the movie was my favorite part of the entire movie.
Yeah.
Before he becomes Toxie.
Yeah.
Everything leading up to him becoming Toxie, I thought was just awesome.
Okay.
I was laughing out loud in multiple parts. Luckily, I was the only person in my theater.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
so were
I would
we.
have embarrassed
So
myself.
funny.
But I thought he was absolutely great.
Yeah.
What I would have changed is when he becomes Toxie,
Yeah.
he becomes 7 feet tall. Like, why not at that point does he
Sure.
become this giant monster?
Yeah.
That would have emphasized the point, number one. And number two, we could have had the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
And another thing that is really interesting is after Peter Dinklage becomes Toxie, he's no longer in the movie.
Yeah. No. It did voice only.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't
Voice
even know
only.
that.
There was another actor in the suit
Yeah.
the entire time. He never put on the Toxie suit.
And it was a female actor,
Luisa Guerrero.
Yeah, which is pretty impressive because the mannerisms. I always wonder for these things, like, did Peter Dinklage record his lines first and she kind of had to mimic them? Did she deliver those lines and then he had to go over and redub them? But it's not distracting in any way at all. I mean, I didn't even notice.
And no offense to Luisa, but if we're switching them out, there's no reason we can't have a 7-foot actor there.
No, could have been more fun too. You could have played with that a little bit more.
And they should have. But what'd you guys think of Kevin Bacon?
I think Kevin Bacon's character was interesting. I think how the movie ends threw me off a little bit, that he's like Satan or something. Like when he takes it,
Some
I thought
werewolf Satan creature.
Yeah,
it's
I
weird.
thought that part was weird. That kind of took me out of it a little bit. Even if he was like purple Toxie or something, I think that would make more sense and be a little more fun.
Yeah.
But I think his character throughout the movie is fine enough. Like, he's kind of a villain, but there's like 4 different villains. So I don't think he maybe, at least to me, wasn't the most prominent person because they have a lot going on. They have the killer nuts. They have the mafia. So he's not that important. Like, for him to be the big boss at the end and he's like saying, I was like, okay, I guess.
I definitely hear what you're saying when you say there's a lot of villains in this movie, because there are a lot of villains in this movie. I would say he's the central villain in the fact that the movie largely represents corporate greed, particularly in the insurance and medical industry.
Sure.
And he represents that, where
Yeah.
the Killer Nuts, they're a rock band that like to dress up as monsters, right?
Yeah.
And so I think in that sense, I think his role was really important. I was really surprised by Penguin. I did not expect Penguin to make an appearance in this film.
Yeah, the casting of this was a little wild. Yeah, you've got Elijah Wood playing Kevin Bacon's brother.
Penguin.
Yeah, and it's so weird. It's like with movies like this, Kevin Bacon. I appreciate the fact that Kevin Bacon's like, yeah, hell yeah, I'll do a role like this. I mean, whether it's something like this or it's kind of a similar role he played in Super. I appreciate that Kevin Bacon's like, yeah, I'll do that. But really, it almost would have been kind of more fun to see like, a washed up B-movie actor kind of step into this role. Might have satisfied that vibe or fit in with that vibe just a little bit more. But with Elijah Wood, I got to think too, it's like these guys probably sit around talking about these movies and they're like, oh yeah, I'd love to. If you got a part for me in this Toxic Avenger remake coming up, let me know.
Yeah, we're weird. I liked them both in the film.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, Kolter. I agree with you. Elijah Wood surprised me. I didn't know that either of them were in the film when I bought my ticket.
Okay.
What else, Kolter? What is it that you love so much about this franchise? Because I know you were excited about this film.
You know what? It's as kind of a former film student, I think I always have an admiration for before I jump in and kind of dive into that, is this the only trauma movie that you guys have seen?
I think so. I looked up a list of them, and this was the only one that
there's a
I
bunch.
recognized off
I
of
mean,
it.
you can find them on places like Tubi and whatever. There's a bunch of movies, and I admire that kind of guerrilla style. We're going to go out there. Most of these movies are shot in New Jersey in shitty parts. They've got friends stepping in as actors. Some were pretty decent back then, and some were crazy and horrible and whatever. They just did what they could with what they had. So I think a lot of the appreciation for those trauma movies comes from that. Getting out there, doing things independently, giving it your best shot, and then they kind of catch on. So for me, I think the appreciation kind of lies in that. It's not because they're great movies. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to sit here and tell you, this is high art. This is, great filmmaking. So that's part of it. So yeah, what I expected was a bunch of jokes that would kind of harken back to my more juvenile days, some crazy gore and I was curious to see what they would do with the story in a modern sense. And for the most part, I think they did exactly what they set out to do. I enjoyed myself.
So what was your favorite scene in the movie?
Oh, it's got to be when he walks in to the burger joint. And I think he walks in. He's got the classic B-movie canned lines and then smacks the bottom of the guy's jaw off with his mop, which is just constantly smoking.
Yep.
It's a great visual thing.
His tongue hanging out.
Yeah, exactly. So
I would say my favorite kill scene's probably where he pulls the guy's bowels out and he says, I can't remember what he says. He says some line and then pulls it. I thought that was crazy.
Pulls the bowels right out the bunghole.
Yeah. And then
That part was
my favorite villain was probably Babyhead.
Babyhead.
I really love Babyhead.
What absurdity, guys. This movie is wild.
It's just ridiculous. Top to
Absolutely absurd. Silly, crazy, wild.
bottom. Yeah.
Like I said, it maybe didn't hit as hard for me, just because I hadn't seen it, before and then been like, we're doing it again, because I have movies that I'm sure people do not really like or are not very well received that I'm like, if they made a sequel of that. If they did Barb and Star Vista Del Mar 2, I'd be front row in the theater. You know what I mean? I have movies like that where I'm sure maybe a good chunk of people are like, that is a dumbass movie. That I'm I would be there day one. I think that's so funny. I think it was almost a perfect way to do a sequel / reboot. It was the perfect amount of Easter eggs and it's a similar story, but it's not like a live action Disney where I'm like, I'm watching just the same thing again.
Crap,
It was still really true to the original story, but
also original
itself. And I love movies that leave me guessing, or I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen, or I don't know how this will go. And so it was fun that it did it twice in a row of I have no idea how we're gonna end this. So I liked that a lot about it.
Good.
Yeah, well said.
Well, I want to know, guys, where does this rank in the world of superhero movies? Is this the greatest superhero movie ever made? We're going to rank Toxic Avenger on a scale of 1 to 5.
Okay, I would say I'm going to give this movie 3.5. 3 for me means a good movie. It's going to get the extra half bump just for the creativity. It left me guessing, and there was still some really good gore scenes, so I'm into it.
I love that. I want to see an Avengers kind of movie with Toxie Terrifier. Who else?
Howard the Duck.
Oh shit! There you go, Howard the Duck. Yeah, perfect. I love this. Dawson summed it up almost perfectly. There's an audience for this movie, and it's maybe not huge, so it's not doesn't have mass appeal. But I think for the folks that love those kind of movies, they're going to enjoy this. I was a little worried at the first 5 or 10 minutes. I was like, oh, some of this humor is not landing. It seems a little forced. Then once Winston comes in, he's sweet, he's sincere, he's got this awkward dynamic with his stepson. He's trying so hard, but he doesn't know how to connect. It was easy to kind of root for the good characters in the movie. It's fun, it's stupid, it's silly, it's got plenty of dick and fart jokes galore in it. I mean, it's going to tickle that 14-year-old in all of us. I had a good time. This movie kind of fell into the right hands to be remade, and I think they hit all the notes and then some, and I would totally watch the next installment of this. So, yeah, I'm right there with Dawson, 3.5 for me.
3.5 from both of you losers.
Yeah, it's a little generous, I know.
When I say this movie is not for everyone, I mean it's not for most people.
Well, yeah,
this
sure,
movie
probably.
is not a movie that the masses are going to flock to.
No.
But for those who get it,
Yeah.
for those who understand the B-horror, stupid, ridiculous, absurd, offensive comedy, in other words, adult children who refuse to be offended,
Yes.
this is a fun movie. And I had a fun time in this movie.
Yeah.
Not perfect. It's not trying to be perfect.
Right.
It knows what it is. It
Yes.
doesn't take itself too seriously. It's just there to be silly and then show you a good time.
Yep.
I'm going to give this film a 3. I liked it. I definitely want to see more people support it. Again, I
Yeah.
think the charity that Cineverse is
cool.
doing is absolutely fantastic. So
That is
go
cool.
see The Toxic Avenger and let us know what you think.
Word.
If you like your superhero films on the comedic side, but The Toxic Avenger was just way too absurd for you, I would recommend you check out Kick-Ass from 2010. It's directed by Matthew Vaughn, stars Aaron Taylor Johnson, Nicolas Cage, and Chloe Grace Moretz. I thought the film was hilarious. It's definitely more grounded, not in reality, but in the superhero comic genre that you're used to. So if you're interested in watching a high school nerd kicking some ass, check out Kick-Ass. I highly recommend it. Thank you for listening to Faster Film Critic, and please join us next week when we talk Him, directed by Justin Tipping. This is a Jordan Peele-produced film. He didn't write it or direct it. He produced it. I think this film looks crazy, and I can't wait to talk about it next week. You can also follow us on Letterboxd, Cinetrack, and Instagram. You can email us at fasterfilmcritic@gmail.com. You can hit us up with questions, comments, feedback, or review requests, and you can share this episode with your movie-loving friends.